Hey guys, welcome back to YPW, the home of all things professional wrestling. Make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. If you're already subscribed to the channel, make sure you turn on notifications as we are releasing new videos. From his birth in the industry to becoming the best bout machine and then becoming all elite, join me as I show you the story of Kenny Omega. In the world of wrestling, at one point in time, everything was very big. There were territories that showed all over the world, and each proclaimed themselves as the best thing in the world. Some were, some had a cult following, and some were just trying to get money. But over time, the WWF, later turned WWE, started to buy up all the territories in America and become a super brand, if you will. This brand later grew into a juggernaut that no wrestling company has been able to touch, in more ways than one for the longest periods. And in the eyes of many, the best wrestlers in the world go to WWE. What if I told you that in 2020, one of the people who is considered one of the best in the world has never stepped foot in WWE? His name is Tyson Smith, but you know him as Kenny Omega. Tyson Smith was born in Transcona, Winnipeg, Manitoba, on October 16, 1983. Smith's affinity towards professional wrestling began during childhood when he watched tapes of WWE, then WWF's Saturday Night's Main Event, which became his favorite program. Growing up, Smith played ice hockey as a goalie. He also worked at branches of retailers IGA and Costco. So, as you can see, when it came to his upbringing, he was very much not born into the business. But his love of wrestling didn't die at a young age. Smith first became interested in a career in professional wrestling after one of his friends from Transcona Collegiate Institute, TCI, began training with Top Rope Championship Wrestling, TRCW, in Winnipeg. Smith ended his ice hockey career plans and began training under TRCW promoter Bobby J, whom he met while he was stacking shelves at an IGA store. After training with Jay for a year, 16-year-old Smith made his professional wrestling debut in the year 2000. He went on to wrestle as part of TRCW for 2 years, where he developed the gimmick of a Hawaiian surfer named Kenny Omega. Bet you didn't know that one, did you? Yep, Kenny was a surfer for a while. The surfer aspect was later dropped and replaced with an Otaka-influenced gimmick. In 2001, he graduated from TCI and enrolled in university in order to fully pursue professional wrestling, a choice he would not regret, as you hopefully can guess. As most wrestlers did at the time, Kenny Omega went from indie show to indie show and slowly started to build up his credibility, including being invited to places like PCW, the NWA, and even WWE. Wait, did you say he never stepped foot in a WWE ring? I did, and I meant it. He was offered a week-long tryout for WWE and was given a developmental contract for a place called Deep South Wrestling. That place was their developmental territory to see how certain talents would work out. Kenny signed there full-time, but not long after he requested his release because he wanted to go back to PCW. Omega later stated that his time in DSW was poor, particularly criticizing promoters Bill DeMotte and Jody Hamilton and trainer Bob Holly. Nevertheless, he also expressed praise for trainer Dave Taylor. Omega has claimed that WWE has since approached him several times with a contract, including in the spring of 2014, 3 times in 2015, and in early 2019, and that he turned them down every time, another decision that he would not regret. Though it wasn't that way at first, because Omega wondered what he would do with his life, he even went and did MMA for a while and learned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before deciding that he needed to go back to wrestling and stay there. This was a true turning point for Omega, because he didn't just want to come back, he wanted to come back as one of the best wrestlers around, including reinventing his Kenny Omega gimmick with a moveset that couldn't be duplicated. Upon his returning to PCW, he had a slew of powerful matches, including locking horns with legends like Petey Williams, AJ Styles, and a 25-minute match with the Ultimo Dragon. During his time in PCW, he became a 4-time champ with their main belt and even had a title reign of over 1,000 days. This reign allowed him to do even more shows, which inevitably led to 2 major business relationships in his life. One of them was Ring of Honor, one of the major American wrestling brands that were fighting against WWE. He worked with them sporadically over the years, but his more important relationship was that of him going to Japanese companies. Starting in 2008, he worked with Dramatic Dream Team, or DDT Wrestling in Japan, and it was there that he started to make his name as one of the best in the world. The Japanese audience loved his skills, his mic work, his personality, and just as importantly, he loved them back. Kenny Omega has often said that Japan is his second home, and much of what he does in the ring or in his style is a reference to Japan. And one of the reasons he chose DDT was because of a man named Kota Ibushi. Kenny loved how Ibushi wrestled and mimicked their style of match so that they would hire him, and they did. At first, Omega faced Ibushi, but later they became a now legendary tag team called the Golden Lovers, and they got a lot of success from their tag team chemistry. It was also during this time that Kenny made headlines for something that all fans of him know. Mainly, he wrestled a 9-year-old girl named Haruka. For real. The video of him fighting this young girl got him a lot of controversy, but he and others defended him because she was indeed a wrestler. Kenny is famous for being safe to others in the ring, and he even trained her to be ready for him. Regardless, his fame in Japan skyrocketed, and this led him to being hired by New Japan Pro Wrestling as both a single and tag team competitor. At first, him and Ibushi were the Golden Lovers for New Japan for years. But then, he signed full-time, more or less with them, and became the Cleaner and a member of the Bullet Club. The Bullet Club was the Gaijin, or foreigner group, comprised of anyone who wasn't Japanese, and this included people like Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Gallows and Anderson, among others. When Kenny joined the group, he became a darker version of himself. Shades, leather jacket, that kind of thing. And his success and accolades grew from that. But his biggest move by far was when he teamed up with fellow Bullet Club members, the Young Bucks, to betray AJ Styles, and Kenny took over leadership. In that moment, which was later revealed to be partially impromptu, AJ and others were slated to leave New Japan for WWE, and so Kenny knew that he and the Bucks needed to get over with the crowd. The Elite were born. The Elite were meant to be a subgroup of the Bullet Club, showing the friendship of Omega, the Young Bucks, and this led to an internet show called Being the Elite, which highlights their adventures around the world. At the time, it was a small thing, but over time, it became so much more. At this point in his New Japan career, Kenny Omega was one of the top dogs of the business. Not just the Japanese wrestling scene, but the entire wrestling world. He further proved how good he was by winning the G1 Climax, a massive tournament run every year by New Japan in his very first attempt. This led to a massive showdown with longtime rival Okada. And at Wrestling Kingdom 11, they went through a 45-minute match together, which is labeled an absolute classic. The best bout machine was being born before the world's eyes. Though he would lose, he would fight Okada multiple times for the title, including a legendary 2 out of 3 falls match that would see Omega finally become the IWGP World Champ, a match which was rated by legendary wrestling critic Dave Meltzer as 7 stars on a 5-star scale. By this time, the Elite had grown to 6 members: Omega, the Bucks, Hangman Adam Page, Cody Rhodes, and Marty Scurll. The Elite were becoming huge stars all over the world because of their matches and personalities that were being shown on BTE, Ring of Honor, New Japan, and more. They helped build up both the Elite and Bullet Club to legendary heights, and they knew that the wrestling world loved them, and they tried to give them everything they could, and then some. A major turning point for all of their careers, though, was an indie show they did called All In. The show was a bet between Cody and Dave Meltzer that he could sell out a 10,000-seat arena if he could have all of the Elite. He specifically named Omega in that bet, and certain talent that were signed to major American brands. The bet was on, and when fans heard about it, they reacted in force. They sold out the Sears Center in Chicago in 32 minutes. Over 11,000 tickets were bought. All In was a celebration of wrestling, and a confirmation from the Elite that they were sticking together and not going to WWE, despite the company making numerous attempts to get them. But they had another idea. They had a better idea. They knew that after All In, they could do this themselves. Through hard work, connections, and more, the Elite worked on making a new brand that they would call All Elite Wrestling, an American-placed company that would try and rival what was going on in WWE, aka Nothing Good, and giving the fans what they wanted: good wrestling, new talent, new opportunities, and of course, a true love of wrestling and not just a desire for money. Many wondered if Kenny would be able to do it because of his contract with New Japan, but he waited it out and made his intentions known at a press conference in Las Vegas. The cleaner was coming to AEW, and the world would not be the same. All Elite Wrestling started out with a major smash hit via their event Double or Nothing, a pay-per-view that was highlighted with the main event of Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho. Though he would lose, the match proved why Kenny and Jericho was one of the best in the world, and the AEW was here to stay. Kenny himself had many battles in AEW in its first year of life, including winning the tag team titles they have with Hangman Adam Page, as well as have classic matches against people like Kip Sabian, Jon Moxley, and more. He's consistently put at the top of the wrestling charts as one of the best wrestlers in the world, and was even named Best Wrestler in the World by Respect Wrestling magazines. Kenny Omega is proof that if you work hard enough and you put your mind to it, you could be successful anywhere, even if you never set foot in WWE. So as Kenny would say, I must bid you adieu, goodbye, good night, and bang! So what do you think? What do you think of the story of Kenny Omega? How much of this did you know already? How much of this story surprised you in terms of the ups and downs that it had? Are you happy with AEW right now and Kenny's role in it? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and thank you for watching YPW, the channel dedicated to all things wrestling. If you like this video, make sure to check out some of our other videos and to be notified when we release new videos. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Until next time.